In the headlines, Dominicans join Haitians in mourning the death of the owner of King Garments. UWP hopeful for the Soufriere constituency to make economic growth a focus of its platform. And police appeals for public's help with no arrests since last week's murder in the city. I am Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001-275-5003 today.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Haitian businessman Petit Louis Axeus, better known as King, passed away on Sunday, reportedly of a heart condition, 2 days after returning from an overseas trip. The proprietor of King's Garment had traveled to Barbados and returned on Friday. Executive Secretary of King's Garment and Security Services says while they await the results of an autopsy on Petit Louis' body, it appears he died of a heart condition. She describes him as one who never gave up on work.
As somebody who started with just one sewing machine in a small place as a tailor, he has grown, more than likely by not giving up and by determination. Mr. King has also gone into the security business, which has created a lot of employment for the Dominican public. He's not somebody who is racial in terms of saying, okay, you're Spanish, you're Dutch. No, he employs everybody. And whatever it is that he can do to build you up, he will do it.
She said Petit Louis had specifically asked that his business not be shut down if he were to pass away.
Mr. King asked me one day to promise him one thing, and that would be not to close his business when he dies. It is a big request, but it's something that we're going to fulfill. King's Garments is not going to die.
One of his hired seamstresses, Jacqueline Jajac, said Saturday was the last day she saw her boss.
And when he came, I realized he was looking a little tired. So I just figured out it was the flight and things like that. So he said, the only thing he said, Jacqueline! That's how he approached me. Hola! I said, yes, boss, I'm fine. But don't come and trouble me. Let me iron my clothes in peace. So I tell him, just visit and open the door and go and rest yourself. So let me iron my clothes. And that was the last little conversation we had together. But to tell you the truth, my boss, he was a very nice boss to me. He was nice to all of us. But I personally, I had something very special with him, like our relationship as a boss. If right now I need something, as my lunch, he will give it to me. If I need my medication and he haven't given us the money, I will go and talk to him. He's in the office. Boss, I need to talk to you. I say, boss, I need a little thing just to buy my medication. But when you give my money, you can take it on it. And honestly, he never take it out on my salary.
Jajac said she is committing to helping to maintain King's legacy.
I will miss him, but I would like the public to know, I want them to know, we have to continue the work. We have to continue his work. Right now, if he was there, we'd be on our toes and do what we have to do. We have a young boy, a young son coming up there, which is Levinsky, and I always tell that boy, Levinsky, you have to run that business. Your father have to step down and you have to run it.
Petit Louis' brother, Elijah, recalls how hard they worked when they came to settle in Dominica. He says several family members outside of Dominica will want to attend the funeral and is calling on government to assist with funeral arrangements. Okay.
Non, Dominique, pour un paquet l'année, côté que nous censé mettre tête nous ensemble, de faire business Dominique. Donc nous avons toujours travaillé raide pour une capable servir une population. Et nous remercions le gouvernement qui était toujours dans nos encadrements, à travers ça notre affaire. Et nous remercions tout le monde Dominique. Mais je ne dis pas, vraiment arrivé à mourir. Mais nous voulons faire tout le monde connaître que compagnie 15 gamins toujours prêt pour servir la population. Nous demandons pour le gouvernement de garder compte de la famille, tout. Parce que nous avons même pu nous si pour ça à côté que c'est moi celle qui ferait pas bon ici avec madame lui mais qu'il y a d'autres familles qui l'autre pays qui t'a remis venir assister funérailles nous t'a remis pour capable nous une opportunité pour capable venir assister funérailles.
In other news, the Douglas family of Portsmouth is also mourning the loss of businessman McIntyre Douglas, who died on Sunday. DA Vibes is reporting his nephew Sean Douglas as saying that his late uncle, aged 68, a devout Catholic, was well liked. He was not a politician like the late Rosie Douglas, but he was a community man. In other top stories, the police continues to appeal to those who have information regarding last week's murder in Roseau to come forward. Just about 9:30 last Wednesday morning, Ezron Roberts of Grand Bay was gunned down in Roseau. But based on pronouncements by the police commissioner at a news conference on Monday, it does not appear that any arrests have been made in connection with this murder. Originally, the police indicated that 2 men were assisting them with their investigations.
I take this opportunity to call on the general public to provide information that will help in bringing the perpetrators to justice in this brazen and callous attack, resulting in a murder which took place in the city of Roseau about 9:25 a.m. in the full view of people. People saw what happened, and I appeal to the general public to assist the police to solve this crime and to ensure that justice is done. 2 suspects were taken into custody on Wednesday, August 8, 2018, within 1 hour after the murder in the city. 1 loaded 9mm pistol and 2 loaded 9mm magazines were found and seized by the police while responding to this murder.
The police chief says so far, 4 out of the 5 murders recorded this year have been solved. In more police news, a warning from the police to those who possess illegal firearms. The deputy police chief warns the police will not relent in its pursuit of criminal elements in the society. Deputy Chief Valerie issued this statement while updating the public on the arrest of several young men who were all suspects in a wave of burglaries in the city. Police conducted several searches which led to the seizure of 1 firearm and 1 imitation firearm.
We want to warn the people who are involved in holding illegal guns that this is a criminal offense, and those engaged in such practice are dangerous to our communities and a threat to our public peace. Just last week, the police intercepted and recovered 3 firearms during separate operations. The firearms found and along with the men arrested are currently in police custody.
On to legal matters. Technical specialists with the OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Project is saying that the passing of the family law bills is long overdue in Dominica. Gloria Augustus was on island conducting a series of sensitization workshops for the harmonized OECS family bills. The 3 bills of focus during her visit were the Child Justice Bill, Status of Children Bill, and the Children Care and Adoption Bill. Consultations were held with a wide cross-section of society, including the police and youth, to educate Dominicans on the importance of the proposed bills.
Because if we want to reform the systems, we need the laws. The laws alone will not do it, but they're an essential part because out of the laws, it sort of speaks to certain things that have to be done. And most times when you ask people to do things, they ask you, well, on what basis? Where's the law? So therefore, we need to have the law. It's a critical part of it, but then we need other things in place because we're talking about systems.
Augustus pointed out that discussion on the family law bill started several years ago, and Dominica needs to keep up with the rest of the OECS in having these bills become law.
We have been on that road since about 2012 in terms of consultations and trying to see how these laws can be passed. In fact, 3 of our sister islands, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Antigua and Barbuda, have already passed their child justice bill and their children and adoption bill. St. Vincent had some reading recently in Parliament, and also St. Lucia had their first reading. So it's really Dominica who has to move up to speed in terms of trying to do something.
The technical specialist is hopeful that the bill will become law before the end of 2018.
Well, I would like to see it. As far as I'm concerned, it's overdue, but because the thing about it is being involved in the system, I see the merit in what is being proposed, you know, particularly in child justice. What it does, it gives a second chance. It allows us to look at children differently. It allows for an individualized approach. It is what we want for the young people.
On the political scene, United Workers' Party election candidate Dr. Sam Christian says one of his priorities for economic growth in the Soufriere constituency is investing in agriculture. Dr. Christian said the productive sectors of fishing and agriculture deserve a boost, especially since the impact of Hurricane Maria.
There are a lot of fishermen who lost all their gear, who lost all their boats. So we have to replenish that. We want to just continue to boost that. We want to restore the agricultural powerhouse that this area was in lime production and so forth. So agriculture throughout Dominica has been on a very, very steep decline. So we have to focus on import substitution and exporting goods.
Dr. Christian has identified skills training for the youth of the constituency, making up Point Michel, Soufriere, Gallio, and Scottshead as an area he would like to focus on.
I believe that we are going to see a spectacular recovery in our area with more jobs, a great amount of harmony, young people being able to have better facilities and a lot of skills training. Those are things that were talked about on the manifesto of the Dominica Labour Party, and I think a fair assessment would show that very little has been done in this regard.
Christian, who lives in Point Michel, says he has been doing his groundwork since after Hurricane Maria last September.
What we know is that the people of Gallion, for example, are still begging for hurricane shelter. The field in Soufriere is still in total disrepair, and the playing field there, the young people want refurbishments of their sport facilities where there are some in existence. And to be fair, you know, this is a story all over the country. But in these areas, the people feel that not enough has been done. The things that we're looking for is to be able to measure, to ask people, are you better off now? Forget about the hurricane, but are you better off now than you were 20 years ago? And I think the answer has been a resounding no, unfortunately, for most people.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has issued a call to Dominicans to stop attacking the Barbadian Prime Minister over Ross's departure and instead to focus on nation building. Mr. Skerrit has called for an end to all unwarranted and verbal attacks on the government and Prime Minister of Barbados. Mr. Scarrett says the decision to relocate to Barbados was the sole decision of Ross University School of Medicine.
The relationship between Barbados and Dominica is long-standing and amicable. The people and government of Barbados have always stood with us, both in good times and most recently in difficult times. Lest we forget, when we were at the mercies of the IMF in 2002, seeking to correct the financial mismanagement of the country by the United Workers' Party government, it was the government of Barbados who first assisted us with a loan of US $10 million on concessional terms. At that time, this was a lifesaver for our country, and Prime Minister Mia Mottley was a member of that government. After Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria, the people of Barbados, including Prime Minister Mottley herself, were at the forefront of tirelessly raising funds and securing food supplies, among other relief efforts for us in Dominica. What is especially notable is that she accomplished this even though she was the leader of the opposition at the time. I do not think it is right, neither do I support any attacks on Prime Minister Mottley and the government of Barbados.
The Prime Minister says there is life beyond the closure of Ross University.
There are ongoing discussions between Ross and my administration, and I am confident that they will conclude with our country benefiting. Dominica shall become stronger and indeed more prosperous from this experience, and I trust that the good Lord will continue to create opportunities for us as a nation, just as He did numerous times in the past when we were jolted by natural disasters.
The Prime Minister pointed to the turnaround at DCP Colgate-Palmolive, Jungle Bay Resort and Spa, and Clare Harbour as some of the success stories which emerged out of seeming setbacks. Mr. Scarrett urges Dominicans to look forward and direct their energies towards nation building rather than being negative and gloating on setbacks and instigating island wars. Owner of a biodegradable items company believes an island-wide education drive should be on the cards for Dominica. In his budget address last month, Prime Minister Scarrett announced a ban on the use of plastic and styrofoam food packaging items effective 1st January 2019. Owner of 100% Grain, Nathalie Rowland, believes Dominicans need to be aware of the need to use biodegradable as opposed to plastics and styrofoam.
People are very aware, very welcoming the idea, but you know, when you kind of touch in their pocket, it's a whole different story, right? So they have to embrace that goal that we have now to be the first climate resilient country. So, but it has to come with, I think, a national campaign, a government campaign, telling people what resilient is about, what we need to ban the styrofoam and the plastic for, what they need to do with biodegradable products. It's not just giving them that, and that's it. You have to do a whole educational part with it.
Roland says other countries have transitioned to the use of biodegradable items years ago, and it is now for Dominica to follow suit, especially as some of the raw material can be easily sourced here.
More or less in Asia, and the Chinese, the Indian have moved their plastic part to biodegradable more than 20 years ago. So they were ahead of us. I have to import that, but the main raw material is easy. There's three types. There's cornstarch, there's sugarcane, we call that bagasse here, and paper. That's it. And everything is 100% plant, so all my products are made 100% from plants, so are fully biodegradable.
Roland believes the country's decision to ban plastic and styrofoam food packaging material will also benefit the tourism industry.
We need to embrace that decision. We really need for the country, we really need for our economy, I think, because if the tourists are going to see what we're doing and that the whole country, every individual embrace that idea, they will spread the word. And we need tourists for the economy. We cannot do without that. So we really need to do an effort. We need to stop littering. We need to be more educated on what we need to do. because it's at the end of the day, those dollars going into our pocket if they come to us, instead of going St. Lucia or somewhere else. So I'm like, we need to bring them in.
And a new manager has been appointed to run the Cabritz Resort and Spa Kempinski, Dominica.
The new manager, Michael Chunavagan, has decades of experience in the hospitality industry from around the world. Most recently, Michael was the general manager of the La Samana Hotel in St. Martin. Prior to that, he worked at the St. Regis Bora Bora as well as the iconic properties in Monte Carlo and others. Cabritz Resort and Spa Kempinski Dominica is being built under the Citizenship by Investment program. Exterior works at the project are fast approaching completion. Interior finishing is advancing. Over 400 people are employed on the project currently. This figure is expected to rise to 700 in coming months. The hotel is expected to open by the second half of 2019.
To end the news, the headlines again. Dominicans join Haitians in mourning the death of the owner of King Garments. UWP hopeful for the Soufriere constituency to make economic growth a focus of its platform. And the police appeals for the public's help with no arrests since last week's murder in the city. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Lee, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.